Florida State started the transfer portal cycle by adding some very good players. Now the Noles have to take it to another level to get back on track overall as a college football program.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Back into Locked On Seminoles. I'm your host, Brian Smith, full-time college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day right here on the nation's #1 podcasting network, Locked On. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The college football playoff is here, and FanDuel is the best place to get into all the action. So visit FanDuel.com to get into the college football playoff profit boost every single game day. We're going to be talking about Shamar Arnoux hitting the portal, what that means. It's another blow to the defense. I'll get into that a little later, but this is getting concerning for the Florida State defense. At some point, they got to stop the bleeding. That's later this show. Is Florida State just playing hardball, whether it's with Shamar Arnoux, with the Desir twins, etc.? I'm starting to hear some rumors of some other schools really starting to circle, kind of like sharks with the blood in the water. This is something that is going to just keep coming up until Florida State pays more. That's just the bottom line. But I want to start the show with something that might surprise some of you. Florida State's addition to date are pretty good. Actually, they're more than good. There's just not quite enough of them and not quite enough elite for me to be really giddy, but it's early in the portal cycle, and that's fine. If you start this way each and every year, whether you're Florida State or any other college football program, you'd be fine as far as the additions. I'm not talking about the players that left, only the additions. For those of you who want to comment after listening to 10 seconds, this is a good start. Let me go through the list. I'm going to give my generic thoughts here on a few things, but a few guys just like statistically, I can throw out a few things. They're just legit. Why Florida State was able to land some top-notch guys at certain spots and not at others yet, you tell me. But the portal was wild, so I'm not going to really hold that against Florida State. But again, let's go down the list individually. All right, first things first, Bradyn Joiner. This is a great place to start because the ball doesn't go into play until the center does something. Bradyn Joiner has done that. He played at Purdue. Before that, he was at Auburn. He's got quite a bit of experience. That's a good pickup. Is he a first-round draft pick? Probably not, but that's a guy that's got a chance to make it to the NFL Combine and make an NFL roster. I'll take that all day. Daniel Hughes, that's a kicker. I don't really pay much attention to what's going on with kickers. If he's great, fantastic, but I'm not going to sit here and try to grade somebody that's a kicker. That would be a misnomer on my part, so I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that I know much there. As for Desir Riles, look, Florida State did a good job here. This is a young man that played tight end for East Carolina, kind of went under the radar, but he's a move tight end. He's athletic. He's got a little bit of size, but he can be in the offense, and they can move him around even when they're doing tempo. This is probably my favorite under-the-radar pick for the Noles so far. Really like what they did there. Quintrevion Wisner, running back from the University of Texas. He had close to 100 yards against Ohio State. He had 161 yards against Texas A&M. This is a legit running back, one that has a chance to play in the National Football League. That's a home run out of the portal because he's done it at an elite school and he's done it against elite competition. Give me a guy like Wisner every single year. You'll never hear me complain. Rylan Kennedy, this is one of those boom or bust things that can really make or break your class. Rylan's an edge guy, but he picked a school in Texas A&M that was beyond loaded. I mean, just utterly ridiculous how much D-line talent they've had over the last 3-4 years. So he's never been a frontline starter. Does that automatically mean he couldn't be a really good starter? No, it does not. And he's going into what I would call a draft year because he's got a couple years of eligibility, but he's a guy that if he hits it right this year at Florida State, he could be off to the NFL. You're going to get your best out of him. And he's a guy that's 240 pounds. He's got some twitch to him. He's got some size, around 240 pounds at 6'3". I like this pickup. If you're not going to go super high end at defensive end across the board, one or two guys that are going to be depth pieces or somebody competing for time, a guy like Rylan Kennedy, I have no problem with that at all. Paul Bowling, interior lineman from Troy. He ends up at Florida State. He played quite a bit. He's from McEachern High School, just up on the west side of Atlanta. Really good program. Played a bunch last year for Troy. If you're going to go G6, you might as well get guys that have production. And who else has done that? This school they call Indiana. Most of their star players from the portal are either G6 or they're a program that's FCS. This is kind of the fit. If you find guys that are from that level, remember a certain guy from Albany from Florida State a few years ago, he's now playing out in Los Angeles, Pro Bowler, same kind of deal. You have to find guys under the radar because you can't just spend $1 million+ on every guy that walks in the door. Not the way it works. Ashton Daniels, I'm one of the few guys that really thinks this is a good fit for Gus. They're not going to overspend. He's going to be a leader. I think this is a good job by Florida State. Everybody else can have their opinion. A lot of people thought that he was a bad fit, but who has he played for? He played for Stanford. They are terrible. And then he went to Auburn, and he was behind Jackson Arnold, which showed to be a farce. When he finally got in the lineup, he killed it against Vanderbilt in Alabama. This guy can play. He's going to have his chance too, because Gus is going to put the pedal to the metal, and he's going to do everything he can to run an offense that's explosive. Daniel's an experienced kid. Excuse me. This is his chance. I expect him to honestly do really well from the get-go. Nate Paps. This one I'm a little concerned about, depending on how they want to use him. He played at Bowling Green, and again, I'm cool with the G6 thing. He's not great as a pass protector based on the grades from like PFF. We'll see how they use it, but Florida State's passing game is a lot different than some other teams. I'm pretty sure he's going to be a good run blocker, and just finding tackles in general, let's be honest, not exactly the easiest thing to do in today's world. So we'll find out a little bit later. Nehemiah Chandler, this is a guy that is long. He's athletic. He's got multiple years of eligibility. And again, another G6 kid. Played at South Alabama. But 6'2", 185-pound corners don't grow on trees, especially ones with multiple years of eligibility. And here's the key. He's a guy that has a whole bunch of experience in a limited time. The coaches that brought him into South Alabama trusted him to play. That's very, very important. So the first group for Florida State is good. They've done well. But to take this program to where the administration and everybody involved with Florida State staff wants, they've got to do two things. Retention, which I talked about quite a bit. And they also have to go out, and this is the awkward word that no business wants to hear, they're going to have to overspend. As some people like to say, they're going to have to pay the tax because they haven't been good. If not, all that stuff they said earlier when Norvell was being brought back in late November about we're going to give them a roster that can do, it's not going to work. So I'm going to be very, very curious to see if Florida State is very competitive. And when I say competitive, let me be very clear. With schools like Miami, Oregon, Ohio State, Texas Tech, and I don't think they will be. They don't have as much money, but that doesn't mean you can't do it with at least one or two guys, pick the position, and go get a dude. In addition to bringing back some of these guys that are allegedly going to the portal, like the Desir twins, etc. You can still get them. They can pull their name out of the hat. Will they do that? We'll know soon enough, but that's what I'm watching, and I believe Florida State fans should as well. When we come back, we're going to talk more Locked On Seminoles. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The college football playoff is here. FanDuel is giving all new customers even more ways to get in on the action every single game, every day of the playoffs. Because right now, every college football playoff game, it's a big one. There's only 3 games left, and FanDuel allows users to get a profit boost waiting for them inside the FanDuel app. Here's what you should love about it. You get to use the profit boost on the bets you'll already feel good about. Ride with the favorite when you think a team controls that matchup. Take a shot on the underdog if you feel the upset is coming. Whatever it may be, it's up to you with FanDuel. And then apply the profit boost and go after even bigger winnings. And when you win, FanDuel pays out instantly, which is perfect for playoff football. FanDuel is the best place to get in on the action all playoff long. Visit FanDuel.com to get your playoff profit boost every single game day. If you want to take your game to the next level, check out the Everydayer Club right here with Locked On Seminoles. You can get all of your audio, no ads, $5 a month or $50 for the year. All you got to do is check out the link in the description below. And you can also get a part of our Discord, get in with all the fans, what's going on there. Check it out, the Everydayer Club right here with Locked On Seminoles. So let's talk a little bit about my projection. This is why so many fans are fascinated with the portal. You just don't know all the details. Let me give you one example. A buddy of mine, not related to the Florida State situation, but the school he covers, like several, have been very, almost like Fort Knox-like, tight-lipped about who they are and who are they avoiding, if you will, in the portal. It's not like recruiting. They can't hide because these kids go to camps and we all go interview them. We don't get that chance in the media. But with that being stated, it sure seems like, based on the volume of players, there's over 30 now, that have hit the portal for Florida State. And secondarily, this is very important as well, it seems to be, for some reason, more on defense. Why is that? I'm just curious. Maybe it is coincidence, but whatever. So is Florida State playing hardball with NIL? Here's an example of what I mean. If a kid is worth, based on the market, $1 million, we'll use basic math here. Is Florida State offering 600? Because, I even had a few people laugh about the whole situation with a certain quarterback that left rather abruptly. I'll leave it at that. I think you all know who I'm talking about. He will now be in the Big Ten. But when guys just hear the number and just leave, what are we doing? That was kind of embarrassing. And I'm not saying that it's across the board, but there are a ton of guys that either came in for a visit or left kind of unexpectedly. And this just looks awkward because while that's happened, they've also paid up for Deuce. From what I'm told, the number's really good. And he's deserving. He's a really good player. That's fine. I don't know what Ashton's getting and a few of the other guys they've got some numbers on some of them. But it seems like they're being incredibly selective where they spend it all. It's like boom or bust. Maybe that will work out. Maybe that won't. But it just seems very unusual. Maybe that's the new trend. Maybe I'm going to look into this and find it with other schools too. But Florida State seems to be pretty aggressive with letting guys walk. Let's see how many of them come back before myself or anybody else really passes judgment. We got another week of the portal. But right now, it looks like a lot of guys, a whole lot of guys, are going to leave Florida State, several which either were going to be starters or at least competing for that starting role. Amari Williams, the Desir twins, Shamar Arnoux. I'll get into that name here in just a second, but he's the latest. You've got probably 7-8 starters that have either entered the portal or entered and maybe just came back. For whatever reason, it worked out. And a few other guys that probably were going to play. Omar Graham, Justin Cryer. It's a long list. So what is the deal? Are they lowballing guys to save money, to pay off guys like Deuce? I don't know. But it's interesting. Now, my other thought here is very simple. The Shamar Arnoux situation is a problem, not just because he's good in a critical spot. He plays corner. It's one of the most important. Think about the players that have left in the last, say, 3 days or so. Shamar, Amari, both the Desir twins. Wayne McCoy. What do they all have in common? They're freshmen or sophomores. Your best players in your freshman and sophomore classes, the future of your football program. How should Florida State fans feel if you do not get any of those guys back? Chroma's not in the portal, at least not yet. That would be another one. Danzy. They got Landon Thomas back. That's good. Okay. Jabril Rawls has got 2 years of eligibility, but he's probably going to play one more. He got him back. That's still good. But where's the other good news based on your retention? Like, okay, Kevin Sperry hasn't hit the portal. That one would be a kick to the groin. You got to eventually transition to a quarterback that you recruited. That's something Norvell has not done since he's been at Florida State, which is sad. But at the same time, you got to have some quarterback depth too. There are so many questions about what's going on with Florida State's younger players that I'm a little bit concerned, to say the least, that this is a trend and there might be some discontent players in that freshman and sophomore group. And I'm just guessing here, but we might see a few more guys leave before the portal completely closes, and again, it's the 16th. So we're just about a week or so away. And then Florida State's going to be in a world of trouble. Because not only is retention important, you still got, again, just like I was talking about with the portal grades for who they've added so far, just added. I like the players they've gotten, but to make it even remotely competitive to like be an upper echelon ACC team, compete for a playoff anytime in the near 2-3 years, you got to go out and not only get really good players from this point forward, you got to get really good ones with multiple years of eligibility, which is everybody's trying to do that. And you got to be very competitive with money while trying to retain a bunch of guys that are obviously not happy. That's going to be very difficult. So I'm curious to see how Florida State plays this money pool. And to be honest, maybe I'm wrong here. I'm guessing they probably need to get at least a couple more boosters to chip in more. That's my guess, because it just doesn't look like to me they have the money to do what they need to do. I hope I'm wrong. But right now, I am very nervous about that. While the start's good, I see some problems coming up because too many of the guys that have hit the portal, especially in the last 3 days, give or take, they're really critical players for the Florida State future, not just 26, but 27 as well. That's concerning. With that, thank you very much for checking out Locked On Seminoles. Just a note, I am in the middle of moving over the next couple of weeks, doing the slow move, a couple hours away from where I'm living now. So I will be consistent with shows, but they may be a little shorter, might be a little less timely. So I apologize, but I cannot wait for the end of January to get here soon enough. I got a lot of traveling going on. Still got to go to Battle Miami. Still got some other events to go to. I've got another event in Louisiana right after that, in the midst of moving. So I will be all over the map. Thank you very much for your patience. Truly appreciate it. And like and subscribe if you haven't already. This has been Locked On Seminoles.